Months ago, Jeremy, The Acolyte came out. It was a miserable failure, both from a ratings perspective and from the audience reception perspective. And the craziest thing about it was Disney actually did come out and say, yeah, we're not making a season 2 of this. It was way too expensive and nobody fucking watched. Well, Disney Star Wars fans are Disney Star Wars fans for a reason, because they're dumb, because they're stupid, because they're retarded. Those are the only people that are still hanging on to Disney Star Wars at this point. So when this big report came out, this end of year report from Luminate, which much like Nielsen is kind of a ratings metric service that measures time watched and all of these different things, they came out with a big report. And one of the things they showed in this report was that of all the shows, the original shows that came out on Disney Plus in 2024, The Acolyte was the second most viewed series. The Acolyte was the second most viewed series on Disney Plus in 2024 with over 2.7 billion minutes viewed. The Acolyte was Disney's second best performing original series in 2024 with 2.7 billion minutes viewed. The Acolyte was the number 2 show on Disney Plus, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is the proof we needed. We knew it was successful. We knew they just canceled it because of those toxic pieces of shit. What these dumb motherfuckers fail to comprehend, because they have no comprehension skills. And honestly, these things were tweeted out in order to make it look like that, right? In order to bait them into this, because it's for engagement. But what these dumb motherfuckers failed to understand is that in the actual report, which I will show you because I went there and I looked at it, not only did they go out of their way to talk about how poorly Disney Plus as a platform is performing, but they specifically point out to The Acolyte and its ratings and say that Disney Star Wars is fucking trash and they need to figure something out because this is a flop. That's from their own report that these people are celebrating. But they're too dumb to understand. And it starts with dumb fucks like Daniel Jose Older, who is a writer for Lucasfilm, a writer for Disney Star Wars, but, right, implying that, well, I thought nobody watched it. We never needed proof to know the real reason they did this, but it's always nice to have it. Disney and Lucasfilm are cowards. Yay, let's cancel our second most popular show because we're scared of Sados on Twitter. Thanks, Bob Iger. The Acolyte was second only to Percy Jackson, which was renewed. Percy Jackson costs less than half as much as The Acolyte, just for the record. But let's get into this, right? And you'd be happy to see that Landman fucking was very dominant, Jeremy.
Damn right it was.
Like a couple episodes of Landman by themselves fucking outperformed The Acolyte as a whole. Right? On Paramount Plus, which has virtually no subscribers. Disney Plus has 153 million. Paramount Plus is almost nothing. And shows like Landman dominated it. But
and all Landman is Billy Bob Thornton just cussing people out for an hour.
I would love to see Billy Bob Thornton just roasting these people as his character. Right?
That's so great.
But it all comes from this Luminate report. And I went ahead, I downloaded the whole thing, right? 40 pages of reports. There's a couple things to point out. And one, like we've said the whole time, the same thing when they tried to spin that was like, oh, The Acolyte had the biggest premiere on Disney Plus this year. And we're like, well, it didn't compete against anything. Echo was a massive failure. X-Men 97 is an animated show. It's not competing against anything. That's a nothing thing to brag about. And in fact, when you look at how much stuff Disney Plus put out this year, it's almost nothing. 9 shows that they put out on Disney Plus this year, compared to Netflix 146, Hulu 46, Max 32, Paramount Plus 33, Peacock 33, Prime Video 42, Apple TV 36. Disney Plus produced almost nothing because it's a failing platform for them. Which that has to go into consideration. It's not like they're putting out a bunch of things, and the things they're putting out certainly aren't bangers. Then the report goes out of its way to tell you how franchise fatigue is affecting things. Lord of the Rings of Power lost 60% of its viewership. Marvel lost a significant amount of its viewership. And then they get directly into Star Wars. This is the headline that these dumb, retarded pronoun in bios, don't know what fucking gender they are, Acolyte fans. This is the report that they're celebrating. The Force is not with the Star Wars franchise. Despite a promising start, Star Wars series, The Acolyte, was canceled by Disney and Lucasfilm shortly after its first season finale. While mixed fan reactions were likely a factor, viewership for the show had waned, with significant decreases after the first 2 episodes and into the finale. And Star Wars Skeleton Crew hasn't fared much better, with only one live-action Star Wars series set for 2025. Disney should consider retooling its strategy to address the franchise's diminishing returns. This is the report that Acolyte fans are bragging about. And then it shows you Star Wars series viewership first 5 weeks, Ahsoka, Acolyte, Skeleton Crew. Now, I think they should have probably taken this out to 8 weeks, because I think the reason they didn't is because Ahsoka dive bombed after that week 5 Anakin jangling keys bullshit, which is probably why they only showed this. But Ahsoka was the worst performing Star Wars show. Its finale was up to that point until Acolyte came along. And it's significantly lower than that. And you can talk about Percy Jackson and the Olympians. These are the top 10 shows on Disney Plus this year. This is abysmal, because consider the top 10, right?
These are terrible.
Fallout was number 8 for streaming on the year. It had over 8 billion minutes watched. And it was like barely in the top 10 for streaming. Look at these. You're talking about half of those numbers, almost a quarter of those numbers for the top Disney Plus shows. Percy Jackson.
The Acolyte was number I mean, the Mandalorian was number 10. That just shows you how bad the year was.
And this is nothing. This is just people going back and rewatching things that
exactly.
years ago.
Yeah.
So Percy Jackson, the Olympians, the Acolyte, Agatha All Along and Echo. Agatha All Along and Echo were both the worst performing Marvel shows to date on streaming. And they were 3rd and 4th. X-Men 97, an animated show. Star Wars: The Bad Batch, an animated show. Star Wars Skeleton Crew. Now, I will say this. I think Skeleton Crew probably would have been above Bad Batch if it had had its whole season released. Obviously, it was still releasing shows in January, I believe. So probably not. And then Ahsoka, Mando Season 3, Mando Season 1. Essentially, nobody's watching these. It's just nobody's watching anything on Disney Plus.
Right.
That's the reality.
Where does Disney Plus ranking right now in terms of streaming platforms? They have to be struggling big time with all the money that they have put into this platform. They were hoping to compete with Netflix, correct?
Oh, of course.
And the fact that they have failed so miserably with their top tier franchises like Disney, Star Wars, like Marvel, this puts it into perspective. They are in bad shape right now.
Well, look at this, right? This is the 2024 streaming platform share of U.S. original content viewing time. So basically, of everything that people are watching on streaming, original content-wise, what are they watching? They're watching Netflix, right? 63.5% of them are on Netflix. The max number is a little deceiving, because since they, things like Penguin or House of the Dragon or whatever, when they come out, they do not count as original because they're multicasting on HBO. They considered acquired programming. So that's why that number is probably a little deceiving. But look, Peacock at 3.1, Disney Plus 4.4, Hulu.
Apple fucking TV is ahead
TV.
of Disney Plus. I don't know a single person that watches Apple TV. I don't know anyone.
And then Paramount Plus, because of things like Tulsa King and Landman, at a huge share compared to its subscriber count. And then Prime Video, 8.5.
Wow.
Like,
that is insane, dude.
Exactly. And these are the numbers, right? So these are the numbers for the top 10 originals. The top 10 originals. Fool Me Once on Netflix, 12 billion minutes watched. Bridgerton on Netflix, 11 billion. Landman on Paramount Plus.
That's insane.
At almost 10 million. That is huge. That is massive when you consider the barrier,
platform. Yeah.
The platform.
Yes.
The Perfect Couple on Netflix, and then Tulsa King.
And again, Landman's not some like Landman is a very grounded show. It's definitely like for normies in terms of like, you know, like I've heard from people that were like, you know, in the industry, they're like, oh, this is just like with Sons of Anarchy. You have motorcycle people that are like, Sons of Anarchy's bullshit. You know what I mean? But like, it's a very normie show. It's very grounded. And it's just Billy Bob Thornton driving around cussing people out. And it's got some really good, you know, storylines and characters. But the fact that it's competing with shows on Netflix on that platform, of course, Tulsa King 2 speaks more to Taylor Sheridan than anything. That dude has the magic touch on these shows. He really does.
Yeah. So these were the most successful shows. So when we're talking about The Acolyte being the second most streamed thing on Disney Plus, that is not a brag. that is one, an indication of how badly Disney Plus did this year. And two, you are trying to claim that even though the report itself says that Disney Plus is failing and that Star Wars is failing on Disney Plus and it's awful, and specifically the Acolyte failed, you're taking that as a win because you guys are too dumb to understand anything else. It's really fucking sad. It's really sad and embarrassing.
This is pathetic. And hey, listen, we're talking about a group of people that need their opinions confirmed by other people because they're too broken as human beings to actually just stand by what they like. They need excuses. They need validation. They need other people to basically confirm their opinions for them because they're talking about pronouns and bio people. We're talking about people that don't exist anymore based on some of the things that Donald Trump has signed into office in the last few weeks. They don't even exist. You don't even exist. So,
well, in a government practice.
Hey, the United States does not recognize these weirdos, okay? So anyway, he's also going to be signing an executive order that Kathleen Kennedy has to step down. I heard that as a rumor. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but hopefully he'll do that. But yeah, so look, man, these people are broken. They're never, ever, ever going to be able to let this go. This is their everything. This is their identity. This is everything that they have to find an excuse. It couldn't be that maybe it just not enough people are interested. Like me. I'm going to bring up something I've never brought up. Never mentioned a game called Titanfall 2 on this channel. I've never mentioned it. Okay. But I'm a big fan of Titanfall 2. One of my favorite games of all time. Guess what? Not enough people bought Titanfall 2 for them to continue the series. It's just the reality of the situation. Numbers are numbers. And if more people would have bought Titanfall 2, we would have gotten a Titanfall 3. But not enough people purchased it. Not enough people wanted to watch The Acolyte. Bottom line, it's that simple. No amount of, you shifting numbers around, reading or looking at headlines and not reading the details, which Ryan has shown you all the details. None of that's going to change the reality that no one watched The Acolyte. No one. Fuck them.
It's funny to watch these, and again, the stars of it are pretending like it was successful, so that's obviously leading very dumb people down that road. Authors be like, "Oh, look at that! It's second most stream on Disney Plus." Yeah, it's a failure, and the fact that you're bragging about a report that specifically calls it out as a failure is very embarrassing for you.
Yes,
it's the reality,
which adds a long list of things that are embarrassing for these fucking freaks anyway. So. I feel like Disney Star Wars there's got to be some major shakeup that's going to happen in the next year or two. They can't continue in this direction. They can't. There's a cultural shift going on. They have been failing for years and years and years, and there's no sign of them gaining any of that relevance back. What is coming out over the next year or two that's going to gain any relevance back for Disney Star Wars? Nothing. How can they continue to go in this direction?
We got the Ray movie.
You got Disney Plus failing. You got the theme parks struggling. And to be clear, when I say the theme parks are struggling, it's not like people aren't going to the theme parks because they clearly are. But
they're still profitable. They're still making a massive amount of money, but they're losing their market share.
They're losing their market share. And especially with Epic Universe opening up later this year, that's going to hurt the theme parks. Again, Disney is successful in terms of they're going to have their box office hits here and there. But if you look back 5 years ago where Disney was operating and what their expectations were for Disney Plus and where they're at now with the theme parks, I don't know how they continue to move in this direction. I really don't. But I guess time will tell.